Voilà. Bienvenue à tout le monde. Welcome everybody to the SNRD 2025 conference here in Lusaka. Thank you for coming. And thank you very much, Mpala and Alice, for opening for us. And off we go. Okay, there is no way around it. I'm between you, something else, and the dinner. There's nothing I can do about it. That's how we set the program. So now please feel free, relaxed. You have hopefully a drink. I'll go with you through my wheel of thoughts and the road to Lusaka that we all made in one way or the other. But I'm very proud and very happy to see so many of you, many good friends, many good colleagues, many of whom I've worked with for quite some time in Germany, in Africa, in various functions as a consultant. So it's very nice to see you all here tonight in Lusaka. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Angelika Friedrich from the Africa Department, Head of Division, Southern Africa. Angelika, thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for choosing Emirates Airlines, because your flight was on time. Unlike some of our colleagues, so we are a table short, I must say. You don't see it now because we had time to set it up. But we are missing a handful of colleagues who were on a similar Qatar Airlines flight. They are stuck in Qatar for tonight, and they will join us tomorrow and catch us running. So for the Africa Department, we have Angelika with us. For the Globe Department, we have Nina Thijs with us. Nina, thank you for having been here already, half Zambian. Nina is head of G510 in the Globe Department and has been with the Access team for quite some days already. And of course, we also have with us tonight, representing GIZ Zambia, our cluster coordinator, Agri-Food Cluster, Marco Hartmann. Marco, thanks for coming. Okay, so that was the welcome to Zambia. Zambia is my current home. It has been my home for 2 years almost now. And it has been a really, really, really nice 2-year span for me personally and also work-wise. And I would like to share some insights with you about that. The fun fact about Zambia is that it never hosted an SNRD event and never an SNRD conference. So I'm particularly privileged while I'm here and happen to be the speaker. I can be the host now for the first time for an SNRD Africa conference in a very beautiful country, in a country dear to my heart by now, but also a country that faces serious rural resilience challenges. And I'll come to that in a moment. Okay, so hosting as an SNRD speaker this conference is a particular pleasure, not only because it's in Zambia, but more so because SNRD, the Sector Network Rural Development Africa, is an institution within GIZ that had tremendous influence on my personal development and on my professional development. And anybody interested in the more personal side, we do that over a drink later. But on the professional side, I think I can share something from my journey. In 2003, yes, 22 years ago, I participated in my first SNRD conference in Accra, in Ghana, and something very significant happened there. And it led to a sequence of events that made me meet somebody who's also with us tonight. Because we lost a colleague. I was working in Kenya by then, and during that SNRD conference in Accra, we learned about his passing on. And it led to a couple of chaotic months in Kenya. But the then country director Kenya said, like, Heike, you know what? There is a colleague in Zambia. He works in Choma. That is somewhere in southern province. I think he would be the right guy to come in and help us out here in Kenya. Why don't you just book a one-way flight, go, do a bit of a temporary placement with him there, learn a bit about rural Zambia, and then you help him drive back that car to Kenya and we locate him here to Nairobi. And that is exactly what I did, what we did. And Pofi, Raimund Hoffmann, I would like to acknowledge your presence with particular pleasure. Because you and I had a bit of a remarkable road trip from Choma to Nairobi in September 2003. And afterwards, 6 fantastic years working together in Kenya. More on that later. But besides that, Pofi has been a long-term SNRD advocate and also the speaker many years. I'll come to that. So, yeah. My personal journey with SNRD, I also was part of the policy group, of the agribusiness group, and nowadays I'll follow closely also the food and nutrition security group. It's very dear to my heart. So, of course, when preparing for this conference, I had ample time to reflect on sector network and SNRD Africa. Ample time in relative terms, because needless to say, some of you might know or guess this. It's a bit of a time-intensive hobby to be a sector network speaker. And it needs a certain level of passion to spend the midnight hours and the weekends on it when you have also other jobs to do within GIZ. But I like doing that. And it's, as I said, it is really a pleasure and honor for me to particularly talk about the 30-year celebration that we're having tonight. And I'll do that in a second. I'll also talk a bit about what topics and what a vision I have for the future. But as I've been told once, you also have to go back and acknowledge the history a little bit. So the history, I'll not run you through this. This is just to impress you with the knowledge management we do in SNRD Africa. We keep track of all our conferences. So our founding fathers, Uli Weil and Associates in 1995 met in Maseru, Lesotho, pretty much, as I understand, as a self-help group on certain topics. And the fun fact is, I'll share that in a second. So it was a successful meeting because it was followed by many other meetings to come. And eventually somebody like Sepp Grimm and Albert Engel took over. And then came in some other people, Andrea Baum, Raimund Hoffmann, formerly known as Pofi, Annemarie, Usman, and others, until to a point where I took over in Senegal 1.5 years ago from Rita Weidinger. So this picture is a picture I think many of you have seen in your induction or in somewhere along the way. That was the founding meeting in Lesotho, Maseru. Yeah. You see correctly, it's white only, it's male only, and the only woman you see was the secretary. Now, I think it's also sometimes good to pause for a moment, look back and say, okay, there was some transformation. We have moved on. And this is now SNRD 2023 in Somone, Senegal. I think these pictures were shared also when we paid farewell and tribute to Albert Engel, former SNRD speaker, but also, of course, head of Africa department, head of planning department, and other functions within GIZ, just 2.5 months ago. And Ingrid Hoffen, our boss at GIZ level, said, you see how much more female the sector networks have become. And that is very true. We have many more women these days. But I think even more important to me is not the diversity in gender, but it is the diversity in nationalities and seeing the SNRD network so much more African 2 years ago and this year. And that is something we worked on for many years, and I see this really working out, and I'm a bit proud of that as well. Okay, SNRD is also the oldest sector network. It served a bit as a role model for other sectors, other regions, and with that, it grew. So we had a bit of growth in between. It was sometimes called the tanker. Sometimes we were lost in lengthy debates about procedures. Then it was called, that's for Germans only now, Kaninchenzüchterverein. And it was sometimes a platform for international staff to gang up against headquarter decisions. And very courageous international staff used the sector network to air their views about what they felt. These are kind of disconnected decisions taken in Germany. I think we still keep a bit of that spirit. And just to conclude on my history and my journey in that whole thing, this is the baton that Rita Weidinger handed over to me in Senegal when she handed over the speakership to me. I'll still keep it. From my Kenya times, I would rather call it a rungu, which can be a scepter. A scepter en français, I think it's called as well, but not as a queen, but I consider myself rather as a livestock person. It's a herding aid. So you can sometimes herd well with it, and as long as I continue to be the speaker, I'll keep on to that rungu, and eventually we'll hand it over to the next one. So be prepared. For the time being, I keep it dearly in my office. From there on, growth. It's needed, this rungu, because we have absolutely impressive growth histories with us. I'll not read the figures, but you can see that by now, 2025, thanks to Caro from the community management to compile all these figures meticulously, we're now with more than 23 plus Germany. We have more than 100 projects, AVs and DVs represented, and more than 900 members active on the mailing list, more or less active. And we keep working on hot topics of rural development. And now, before moving on and looking into the future, I think we have a couple of minutes to listen to some of my predecessors who were kind enough to share with us what they felt was important in their time with SNRD.
What's the impact of the sector network for rural development in Africa?